morning, everyone, and welcome. It's great. Right out of the gate, we have over 30 people, and they're still coming. I'm really excited about the topic today. I'm going to do a tiny diversion just to get us off on the right foot and headed in the right direction, because I want to offer you some suggestions about how to move forward from the coaching that I'm going to do today. And please continue to send your questions and your problems and your challenges to the chat box, because most of this session today, this podcast, is going to be about triaging that, me coaching you the best I can, not being able to be there with you, seeing what you're talking about. But if you're good, you can turn your camera to whatever the pile is, and we can do it that way as well with everybody, because remember, everybody here today has their own pile. Everybody here today has their own challenges. So yours isn't going to be any better, any worse, special in any way. It's except that it's yours. I get that. Okay. So last week we talked about mindfulness. And while today we are going to spend the majority of time, almost completely, with an open coaching Q&A session about how to sort, how to make decisions, how to overcome barriers, how to resolve whatever the buildup is that is challenging you in your environment. As I said before, I want to take a short diversion and start us off in the right direction. I want to tell you a little bit about a book, okay, that I just want to highlight. Now, there is a cautionary note a little later on in the material I'm going to give you, so that I can manage your expectations about this book, all right? But I decided to use it as a referral baseline for mindfulness and its relationship to CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. The book obviously is titled Cognitive Behavioral Therapy and Mindfulness. Okay, how many times do I have to repeat that? And the author is, whoops-a-daisy, Olivia Telford, all right? The reason I want to tell you about this book, though, is only because she offers quite a useful, helpful, simple to understand summary of the usefulness of self-directed cognitive behavioral therapy that you do yourself. It is a do-it-yourself type of book. You self-direct, you self-treat, yourself using simple cognitive behavioral therapy strategies and techniques. And that can be very useful because it's always available to you. Okay, that is my definition of helpful and useful, that it's free of charge, the cost of the book. But you can probably get it at the library as well. I'm sure Olivia didn't write this book just for people who could afford to buy it. And you can go to it for strategies, but I want to manage expectations a bit. While it does offer suggestions and step-by-step kind of suggestions about CBT and mindfulness for depression, for anxiety, insomnia, obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD, and its accompanying intrusive thoughts, getting past regrets, getting over guilt, overcoming jealousy, coping with criticism. It's a kind of do-it-all book, but it's not a warm, fuzzy book, all right? Don't go into it expecting it to be a warm, fuzzy book. It isn't. Or I didn't find it to be. It's a how-to book. So when you're ready for the how-to reach the goals you've set for yourself, which is part of why we're doing this coaching session, open coaching session today, you know what? It might just be a helpful tool. Just manage expectations. It's not going to be an understanding. It's a how-to, okay? I also want to include today or later on in a future podcast, just want to put it on the agenda, a little bit about something called behavior activation. Why? Because nothing happens without behavioral activation. Nothing. You probably guessed that by the title. All right. So, how is behavioral activation a useful part of cognitive behavioral therapy? It is, especially when you tag on and add mindfulness strategies to the mix, because all of these tools, here's the good news. I know many of you can't afford, there aren't services in your area, which is why I make this podcast free and will continue to make it free. I will continue to cover secondary accompanying challenges, disorders, problems that people have, lifestyle problems. All right, self-directed, when you can do it to some extent yourself in the moment, all right, that is a huge, huge benefit. Let's do just a tiny summary, all right? So mindfulness-based cognitive behavioral therapy adds physical components like breathing when you add mindfulness to it, like breathing exercises. What's your breathing like when you're stressed and overwhelmed? Do you think those cells in your body that are panicking, that are feeling overwhelmed and subdued and out of whack, do you think they couldn't use a little more oxygen? It's a simple component, people. We are a synchronized unit, our minds, our emotions, and our physical self. So breathing exercises are huge. And if you ace them, if you really learn and practice them, you can use them in the moment to waste less time being stressed. Does that change the situation? No, but it does change what you have to offer coming into and dealing with a stressful situation. So mindfulness, all right, adds the physical component to it, things like breathing exercises. It also adds a mental aspect, which is separate and different from emotional, all right, like meditation and other mindfulness practices. All of these, you now have a full toolkit, all right, mind, body, and emotions. Mindfulness is the act of paying attention and at the same time being fully present, right? When you commit yourself to being present, no matter what the situation is, you aren't obsessing about the past. You're not grinding yourself in a state of being overwhelmed or depressed or whatever you're feeling. And you're certainly not fretting about, oh, what could happen, and fretting about the future. You're just in the moment. Do you see if you can get better at that? How much you've offloaded all the other parts of your thinking and your physical response that are wearing you out and holding you down? All right, because the interesting thing about mindfulness is that when we are in a mindful state, when we can keep ourselves present, deliberately aware, present, we are far more likely to feel calm and a sense of safety, more safety, maybe not perfect safety, and more in control. We don't feel like we're being dragged behind the bus. All right, we feel far less controlled by the situation. Mindfulness is well recognized to help us engage in the world we're living at the moment, in the moment, moment to moment, because that's all you have. The past is gone and over. All right, no point in worrying about it repeating itself. You have the experience of having dealt with it now, and the future hasn't happened. But wouldn't you like to be able to influence the future by not creating it because You're worrying about something you can't control that may never happen, right? Does anybody here move into extrapolating about events? After something's happened and you start to extrapolate, imagine, and then continue worrying about events that haven't yet happened. Cognitive behavioral therapy, which, to remind you, you can administer yourself, helps you challenge those thoughts. Whereas mindfulness, on the other hand, added to CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, even when you direct it yourself, even when you're doing it for and to yourself, encourages you to also accept reality. Because here's the bottom line. Whatever is in front of you, if you are fully aware and present and recognizing it, that is reality, people. All right, we're fooling ourselves when we wishful think and go somewhere else and apply meanings that are bigger or less. It is reality. That's what we have to work with. CBT works because it teaches us how to process our thoughts in a new way. All right, and hopefully arrive at different conclusions. The great thing about CBT, if you get any way good at it, even if it is self-directed, is that those conclusions are the ones that actually pass the sniff test for being more evidence-based. They reflect what the truth is, the actual truth of the situation, rather than restrict us, which is where we go to when we go somewhere else and we're not recognizing reality. We restrict ourselves to an emotional based. Well, that brings up all the voices on the committee. It brings up every way that life hasn't gone well, every failure you have, every insecurity you have, every fear that you have. Okay. Where would you rather be? Which would you rather be dealing with? So I really encourage you to put some time into the combination, have two sides: cognitive behavioral therapy, changing the thought pattern to produce new options for outcomes, seeing things different ways so you don't further disable yourself, as well as in the moment being able to be aware, not threatened, just recognizing the facts of the situation and accept them. Don't waste your energy fighting it, accept it. And then what to do about it. That is a winning combination. And I know for a fact that most or all of you can do that if you just practice it a little, okay? So I talked about that. All right, let me just see where I am. So mindfulness keeps us in the moment, asks us to accept the situation before we choose how to act. That is a winning combination as well. Sometimes we're halfway down the track before we realize this isn't working. And it isn't working because it's not based on the reality of the facts of the situation. We didn't take time to stop. I say this in my book, Conquer the Clutter, our book rather, Sue in my book, that put yourself on pause. I'm saying the same thing when I say that. Just put yourself on pause, come to terms with the reality, what you actually see that is evidence-based, and deal with that. All right? All right. So at this point, I'm going to break. I have 6 comments in the chat box. I am hoping that for the next almost 45 minutes, you are going to send me your questions, your challenges, how you feel like you're bumping your head on things, you're not able to move on, you're having particular difficulty with a particular type of thing, you can't get started, whatever it is. Oh, I have 7 now. Okay, I'm going to go down to the chat box, and the rest of this podcast is going to depend on you folks engaging and using me as your coach. Okay. Okay. Let me have a look here. Okay, so Ottawa girl to everyone. As we get set up, I just wanted to say thank you for offering this opportunity. You're very, very welcome, Ottawa Girl. It's my pleasure. I look forward to the podcasts. I really do. It's sort of like having a community that we join together for everybody's benefit. All right, for everybody's benefit. Oh, and can I just announce something? All right. So remember last week I told you about the new TV show. It's the Canadian version of Hoarders. All right, stay tuned. I am going to meet with the director and the executive producer on Monday. I'm going to show them how my style, my methods are used, what's gained, whether it translates to good television or not. And I have been orientating these people to accurate, compassionate, gentle, kind version of what hoarding is and how to help real people who are really stuck. All right. As opposed to versions that may have been used in the past in other programs. So wish me luck on that one. And I would love to have your feedback on whether you would like me to send you the website when it's almost there, to be auditioned, to be interviewed, if you happen to be in the Toronto area and you're open to being on television and getting a week's worth of help from, if not me, some therapist, hopefully one that knows about hoarding, but somebody who is a qualified therapist. Doesn't hurt. Be great if they did know a great deal about hoarding, but that remains to be seen. All right, maybe they'll show them the orientations that I did for the casting team and the directors and the producers. All right, so just wanted to give you an update on that. All right. Yes, you will be able to help others, because when you learn it yourself, when not just learn it here, when you practice it yourself, all the different coaching things that we're going to talk about, all right, that knowledge is never wasted. Somebody somewhere is going to benefit from your experience and your courage to take a bite out of your own problem, all right, and deal the best you can with it, okay? Thank you, CJ Brown. Says I look great. That's great. Everybody can see and hear me. Okay. Michelle, Susan, to everyone. Elaine, we are social workers, not computer gurus. It happens to all of us. The reason I went into social work is because I thought it had nothing to do with machinery. Little did I know. Little did I know. Yeah. Anyway, but what do they say? The lessons are sent to you that you need to know to move forward. Okay, well, bump my head. And thank God there's HAFSA as my backup. Yes, may I ask the name? You certainly can, Wendy. So this book that I'm recommending, I am recommending only as a how-to. It is not a deep book. It is a surface book, but as such, surface level book. As such, when the time is right, it's not going to hurt you to have a menu and a formula for do this, then do this, then do this. It's not going to hurt. All right. But I did not find it to be a warm, fuzzy book where you feel understood and accepted. And it's by Olivia Telford. All right. Handy little book to have. Probably in the library. Don't feel depressed or left out if you can't afford the book. All right. Handy little book to have. I wish I had a way actually to circulate all the books that I buy just as references to kind of enrich my own clinical experience, and had a way to circulate it around between you, but that would cost a fortune in Canada Post for all of it. So this is the best I can do. Okay. 14 new messages. Good. Okay, Joan, still feel overwhelmed. No place to put anything. what to keep, what to let go of. All right. So Joan, do you want to turn your mic on?
Yes.
All right. Are you in the Toronto area?
Yes.
Okay. Has this been an ongoing challenge for you?
Yes.
All right. I'm not pitching this. I am simply asking you to consider, what would it take for you to accept free help? Because you and I have talked, and
Yes.
I know that you understand where the challenge is, where it goes off the rails a bit and doesn't happen with you as much as you really want, sincerely want and need it to happen. Okay. So if you were interested, it might not hurt for you to take advantage of going on the website when I send it out, all right, next week, and talking to them at least to see what would be involved, all right,
Okay.
and what their approach is. You want to be sure that nobody's going to do some fancy editing that makes you look anything other than who you genuinely are, a really sincere person who is bumping her head, all right? And you really want a way out of this. So tell me a little bit about the overwhelmed, because I know most of the 43 people here today are going to be able to relate. I'm going to have a lot of nodding heads. I know I am. Can you articulate that? What is that?
think I have realized that I could go into someone else's house after listening to you for years and organize their things. I'm super clean and stuff. I realize that I have a relationship with everything of mine. That's what it is. I have a relationship, and I know that sounds,
No, that's a big,
da 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 da.
if
But
it's it, no,
I
it's not
value
new age. It's not
no,
new age. No.
I value everything that I have. I value everything that I have. Now, I just went through an experience where I had to clean off the deck. Well, that was quite a while ago, and I did, and I threw out a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
But I still have a lot of stuff. I had a storage that I have 3 storages.
You still do?
I have 2 now. I
Okay.
cleared out one about 2 months ago. And I
How
cleared
did
out.
you do that? How did you do that? I understand if things are still, I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to kind of extrapolate here on the points you're making. So
Yeah.
you
So
have
the capability to throw out is there. So the storage was organized, it was in bins, and I just went down, I did it bit by bit, and I said, Joan, you've got to get rid of this because it's costing me, it was $75 a month. And I did. I cleared the whole thing out. I worked on it bit by bit, but a lot of it, I shouldn't say a lot, a portion of it came up into where I live. But I did get rid of it. It's empty.
Okay.
And it's gone.
What portion came up into the house, into your apartment?
I would say a little less than half.
Okay. How stuffed is the house now?
I have a second bedroom, and not that I put anything in that I can't get in. My deck off my balcony is full of stuff.
Okay.
And my room right now, I have, they came in to clean the fan coils, and I covered everything with sheets and made a path so that they could get into the fan coils. But it's very, very painful for me to get rid of stuff. I even have regrets about stuff that I got rid of in the storage.
Sure. So the relationship that you have, let's not talk about the stuff right now. Let's talk about in general, and I do have 23 other messages. So I want to talk about relationships. Would you say that when you have a relationship with people or with memories or with anything, present or past, that all of those relationships are equal?
No.
Okay, so how can I help you understand that one of the strategies in Conquer the Clutter is to help you understand yourself in real terms as you're experiencing it, right? That yes, you have a relationship with everything. It wouldn't be in your, it's either a passive relationship, it's still there because you haven't gotten around to it and you'd rather not deal with it. Really, you don't have the energy. And I'm not saying you, I'm just saying in general, okay? Or you have an active relationship. No, I really like that. No,
Right.
that means a lot. That means a lot to me. Do you find that when you look from item to item to item to item, that it's only then that you really realize, you really experience, oh yeah, no, and that is important. I just I forgot. And this is important.
Yeah.
Oh, and that
Exactly.
is important. So this may be a difficult thing to hear, all right, but the meaning is what you're applying to it,
Yes,
all
I
right?
realize that.
Okay, and if you continue to, it's kind of like, which branch did the bird light on? Okay, and it's an important branch because it's sort of what you're holding on to. That little bird is holding on to that branch. It's holding on to the branch over there, that branch over there. They're not all equal. The branch you're on becomes, so you're focusing on, becomes more important. I'm going to suggest that in the next week or two, you take a backup approach to it. Don't be looking at the things and falling in love re-falling in love one at a time. Sit down and without looking at anything, all right, don't peg it on anything. I want you to write down in the 3 categories, 1, 2, 3, can't imagine life without it. All right. This thing means so much to me that if this house was on fire, it would be one of the very few things that I could carry out and it would be going with me. All right. What are the criteria in your mind? What is true for Joan that makes something that important? It's not that the other things aren't important. They are, but they're not equally important. And the space, first and foremost, except Buckingham Palace, I'm sure that in everybody's environment, space is valuable real estate.
Yes.
All right. And if those things mean that much to you, they give you joy, they reflect who you are. You just, you can feel the lift when you see them. You can feel that, that when you see them. Okay. And it's not all about mementos necessarily. It could be anything. That is what gets the real estate. All right. And I want you then to move forward and pick an example, one example of the strongest 1, 2, 3 that you have. And that stays separate and apart from anything else. All right, safe. All right, that's number 1. All right, then I want you to go to the other extreme because the other extreme is easier than the middle. All right, the middle is kind of like you're getting tugged both ways. Okay, so 7, 8, 9, 10. When you see those things, you're saying to yourself in one form or another, what's that silly thing still doing here? I don't need that. All right. And if that doesn't happen, you're saying something like, you know what, there's way too much stuff in here. The landlord isn't going to like it. The fire department isn't going to like it. This could be a real problem for me. And if something's got to go, it's sure not going to be any of the 1, 2, 3s. It's going to be from the 7, 8, 9, 10 pile. And it's not that it doesn't mean anything, but then I want you to take in your mind, visualize this first, taking that super 1, 2, 3, and I want you to run it by all of those 7, 8, 9, 10s, and you're going to feel there's no way they never should have got an invite to the party. All right. They're people but they're not No, if something's got to go, it's going to be. Then I want you to make a list of the criteria for Joan's criteria for something to be. What is true for you that makes it a 7, 8, 9, 10? And then visualize taking and take a sample. Take the best sample that you have of the 7 as a reminder, a kinesthetic, emotional, physical reminder. And I want you to apply it to what's left, the 4, 5, 6s. All right. Visually, so that you can feel where it's like intense, intense, intense. It's starting to fade a bit. Yeah, you know, it's close. Well, no, it's not a 1, 2, 3, but those are the 4s. Same thing with the 7. Visualize it first. All right. You take the 7 and you run it by and you think, no, it's more important than that. But yeah, you know, it's hard to tell. It's not exactly, okay, let it go. But you know what? Pretty close, pretty close. And you can feel it. You can feel it. You can experience it. All right. Because in that relationship that you have that you're applying to everything, all right, that's what you're doing. But you're taking the 1, 2, 3 and you're rubber stamping everything with the 1, 2, 3. That much stuff, Joe, cannot possibly be all 1, 2, 3s. Can't possibly. It's a physical impossibility. I would have experienced that in the 20 years I've done this with people. It never is that. But when you're looking at things one at a time, you over apply meaning. And when it doesn't have that definite can't imagine life without it relationship, fear kind of and doubt kind of starts to set in. And then it's, well, then you stick handle a logic. Well, I might need it, you know, like could be useful. Well, you know what? All right, it's not useful to me. No, I accept it's not useful to me, but somebody could use it. It's too good to just throw out. Yeah. All right, and I don't have the time. There's this reason, this reason, this reason, this reason that I can't pass it on. And so it stays passively. It's the 7, 8, 9, 10s that I'm going to invite you to visualize first for the next few days. Then I want you to do your homework. If you really want out of here, are you prepared to pay the cost for happiness? All right. Yes. I want you to sit down and I want you to make the best list of what makes something. What are the criteria that makes something a 1, 2, 3? And that's what it is. Nobody gets a vote on it. Okay. What makes something a 7, 8, 9, 10? And then once you know that can't imagine life without it, if something's got to go, it's got to be from that group for sure. Okay. And I'll miss it. I will miss it because you know what? I got it for a reason. There are all kinds of good reasons. But you may not have been making a decision in the moment, realizing how little spare room you had to bring it home and give it, because every single thing we have has to be useful. The stuff serves us. We don't serve the stuff. All right. And so it has to be useful to you in some way. It has to add something positive to your life. Otherwise, it probably does not deserve the valuable real estate that it's taking up. And once you know those 2 categories and you can feel them, you can spot it when you're looking, then the next 3 days, 3 or 4 days before the next podcast, I want you to walk around with your 2 lists. And I just want you to eyeball things. You don't have to make any decisions right out of the gate unless you are in a safety hazard. All right. And then they're better back paying $75 a month in storage. Your life, your safety isn't worth saving $75 a month. And nothing we have, even the 1, 2, 3s, is worth the safety of your life or my life or anybody else's life. So I want you to eyeball, you know, I think that probably is a 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. No, 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 no. That, and you know it when you see the 1, 2, 3. You know it, people, when you feel the 1, 2, 3s. Okay. It's like, whoa, there it is. Oh, I found, oh, there it is. It's very, it draws you, you know it. And it does this to you. All right. And it isn't part of a million things. Here's the next thing you have to come to terms with, though, everybody, myself included. When you find the 1, 2, 3s, and you ask yourself, if I was looking for you, where would the first place be I'd look? And you go and you look in that space, and it's already occupied, there's a domino effect. Okay, the fact that that space is already gone doesn't mean that what's in there deserves to have that space, because that is always where you're going to look for that item, even if it's a 4, 5, 6. All right, even if it's further down the importance level. And then it bumps that object. Okay, it may bump it into a 7, 8, 9, 10 category, may bump it into a 6 category. 4, 5, 6s we're not going to worry about right now. All right, for you, Joan, because you've got a lot of things that you've brought back, and those things need reconciling. All right.
Yes.
There aren't very many spaces that can hold half the content of a storage unit, as well as whatever you needed in the unit at the time. And sooner or later, it is going to cause a problem for you.
Yeah.
It is, and it's not a problem you want to have. So let's head it off at the pass. Now, for other people who are a little further along, take the best example of the 1. All right, take the best example of the 7, and with everything else, run it by. Actually run the item by if you can. If you can't, if it's too big, visualize it. Get the richness of why it's so important to you, and go and look at the thing. You know what? It's going to get its place in line. Take the 7. Is it closer to the 7? If it's closer to the 1, then it's a 4. Leave the 4s. Leave the 4s for now. Don't worry about the 4s. If it's closer to the 7, it's a 6. Put it with the 7, 8, 9, 10s. All right. And now the only thing we have to sort is the 5s. And so all of the 1, 2, 3 stay. We find a place for it. I actually, in 20 years, have never had a situation where most or all of the 4s we couldn't find an appropriate space for. And maybe even some of the 5s. All right. Now, there's one more element that I want you to factor in, and that is this. Where that thing gets housed needs to be in or as close as your accommodation, your home will allow it reasonably, all right, to be where it's used. Why? Because you are on the path to slipping and relapsing if the things you use aren't kept where you use them. All right, now there are 1 or 2 exceptions to that, but we'll talk about that in a second. Because that prevents you from handling the logic. And there's an empty space, we'll just stuff that there. Oh, there's an empty space, we'll just stuff that there. All right, no stuffing. Stuffing is the road back to where you came from. All right, every available open space is not available for any old thing that needs a home, because you are simply adding to your chaos. It doesn't make the accessibility reliable. Where did I put that thing again? Oh, and that's just really, truly, folks, it's just a matter of time. Try it, Joan. Okay, try that. And anybody else out there with that same issue, and most people to some extent or another will have something like that. I want you to do that this week. Okay, let's go and look at some of the
Thank
others.
you. I'll let you know how it goes.
Okay, give it your best. That's all you can ask.
And I'm interested in the TV show.
Okay, I'll make sure to mention what the application process is. Okay. Can I watch previous Zoom calls? And if so, where? Yes, you can, Lori. You go on www.hoarding.ca and under webcast recordings, they're all there. Now, it takes Braden about maybe 2 weeks to edit the current ones, like today's, for instance, and to get it up there. And so sometimes there's a bit of a delay with the current ones, but there's a host of other ones that you can watch on all kinds of other accompanying issues with hoarding. Is the TV show filmed in Newmarket? I saw a promo for it, wondered if it is the one you mentioned. Michaeli, was it Hoarders Canada? If it was, I think that's what they're calling it. And they're going to start in the broader Toronto area. All right, they're going to start there. And if they get approved for more than 8 episodes, they will move probably all over Ontario first and then Canada. It just depends on how it's received. And I'm praying that they take some of the suggestions that I recommended, like the cleaner does not get to interfere in people's mental health by trying to challenge them to throw things out or get rid of things. All right, that is a mental health issue. This can be a disability. Hoarding disorder is not like the flu or a cold. When it's functionally severe enough, it's a disorder. You don't have your cleaner interfering in someone's mental health. So that's a biggie in my mind. All right. Any tips on how to reduce or prevent ping-ponging one's focus from one room to another? Yeah. All right, that's a good one. Okay, so when you ping pong, I'm going to suggest that you go back and look at the webcast recording on ADHD or ADD, because even though you may not have ADHD or ADD, that is an ADHD, ADD behavior. The best thing that you can do, if you can't count on training your brain right out of the gate to say, that's not what I'm doing, what am I working on, is to externalize it in any way you can. All right. And I'm not talking about writing it on a blackboard. I'm talking about maybe walking around with a little notepad or a little book. I have one here. All right. And if I was doing this, I would be writing down, okay, priorities, kitchen, bathroom, bedroom. Why? Because that's where we spend most of our time. Most of our activities of daily living activities happen in those 3 areas. I don't care how big or how small your house is. And then I would be looking at that, what family room, a front hall, closet in the front hall, closet in the blah, blah, blah. I would itemize those. All right. And I would be beside it putting today's date. All right. Today, I wouldn't do it ahead of time because none of us expected COVID. None of us expected the side effects from COVID. All right. And so you have to factor in that your life is not a machine. And so when you say the night before, perhaps, or the week before, that's what I'm going to do on that spare time that I have. I would write it in March 30th. All right. And I would continue when I find myself going from, you find this thing and you want to put it away. So you go into the other room, you open a drawer, you go to put it in, oh my gosh, this drawer. And so then you're busy with the drawer, and then you do the drawer and then you find something else, and you end up in the bedroom putting earrings back, or who knows, oh, you find your passport. So what do you have to do? You have to go to your filing cabinet or wherever you keep your passport. You accomplish nothing. If you externalize it, San, all right, and you write it down, all right, this is what I'm working on. That's not, and even when and I don't mean that somehow I'm exceptional, just it's easy to get distracted. But when I'm doing a bigger job and I need to turn spaces around, all right, and it's a multitask thing in that space, I have to keep saying to myself, yeah, it's on the list. Add it to the list. Drawers in the office. You'll get to it. That's not what I'm working on right now. That is not what I'm working on right now. No, the job is this. And I talk to myself. The great thing about talking to yourself is you now can hear it. You have another sense that's picking it up, another sense that's going to send data back to you when you go, you're not doing that. No, this is it. It can hear the conversation and play it back to you. And the other great thing is you always get consensus, hopefully. All right. Michelle, yes, please send the website re-interviewing. Okay, I will. Joan, please send, yep, I will. I would like that website, please. Lori, great. Okay. Good questions. Listen, I knew that was going to be a really popular one, Sam. And you know what? That many people in the world can't have, I hope, ADD or ADHD. And even if you do have behaviors, nothing says that it is, no, let her in. Nothing says that you have it to the extent that it ticks off and equates to a disorder. It's just something that gets in the way. Use the tools and strategies for the behavior and don't worry about the label. All right, okay. Carrie, absolutely. I'm thinking a combination of depression and avoidance. So yes, if you were to analyze the behavior, yes, it might qualify for avoidant behavior. All right. But maybe avoidance isn't the issue. All right. Maybe that's not really the issue. And I believe in being kind to yourself. Buying on for harsh labels I'm just not into that. And it could also be, though, Carrie, that you don't feel like you have what you need to handle that job in the way of time, space, energy, focus, tools, resources, advice, and you just don't want to bump your head again on it. All right. Who in their right mind wouldn't avoid something that they bumped their head on a number of times? Look for the tools, look for the resources to help you. All right. Because you're certain if you can reliably join us on Zoom, you're able to do whatever you need to do. It's just a matter of finding the tools and resources and then be patient with yourself. Break it down into doable chunks, little tiny chunks. That's too big. Break it down again. Remember, one thing finished is better than 10 started. All right? Better than 10 started. Okay. Yes, you can watch, Laura. You can watch previous Zoom calls. I'm sure the Canadian version will be lovely. I'm hoping, I am meeting the director who was just showing, she's lovely. I'm meeting the executive producer. She's fabulous. They do have to buy on, however, apparently for the format. It's sort of, it sounds like it's like some kind of franchise from the States. And the States had their own view of things, right? Which is why I turned down Hoarding Buried Alive, Hoarders, even when they wanted to have Canadian episodes many, many years ago. The Dr. Oz show I turned down. I'm not interested in participating in good television when it's at the expense of people's dignity and compassion. We all have problems. The fact that the whole world doesn't know about it doesn't change the fact that everybody here today, myself included, struggles with something. Okay. And so I'm waiting to see. I want the proof of the pudding. And I will send the URL, the website address next week. I will, or I may even do it sooner than that, actually. I might post it on the website. But I want you to interview them while they're interviewing you to make sure that you come out of this whole. All right. All right. The UK version is very different from the US. People are treated with respect. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad. I haven't seen the UK version. Oh, thank you, Glenda. Thank you so much. Oh, that's the other thing. I'm redoing the website. And so I don't believe, I'm not interested in believing in the before and after pictures. All right. I think that that is a legacy of shame for whoever house was the before. And so I'm not interested in doing that. But in lieu of that, I would appreciate being sent any testimonials or any things like that kind statement and why, so that I can use up space on the website for something that paints a picture without shaming somebody and gives people a sense of how I work, why I work, how useful different tools and resources are. That would be very helpful. And, also too, if you happen to be buying, I'm not pitching it, but if you happen to be buying the audiobook or the print book on Amazon or anywhere else, it would be really helpful if you went on and did an Amazon review, especially if you got the book from Amazon. Or the audiobook. The audiobook comes with its own URL, its own dedicated website, which is pretty amazing. All the tools, resources, quizzes, everything. You can track yourself. I'm having a good day. I'm having a bad day. I made ground. I lost ground. Where's the problem? And you can find out. They're all tabulatable. They're all interactive. Okay. All right. Okay, CJ. I've had deep depression, in bed hours each day, just upped my meds, and DEF, I don't know what that is, avoidance. CJ, I'm going to ask you to do probably one of the hardest things, all right? And that is every day for 5 minutes, at least, get out of bed, all right? Go somewhere where you live. I love the shower, all right? When I have time, I love to just stand in the shower, the water. All right? And I imagine that whatever problems I have, whatever challenges I have is washing off of me and it's swilling down the drain. And when I leave, I take a nice towel and I buffer myself off and dry myself off, and I have a fresh start because that crap's down the drain. Whatever's working or not working well, it's down the drain. All right. Do that. Make sure that you are eating properly. Make sure that you're taking the medication exactly as it's prescribed. All right. And do one small thing, just one small thing every day. Doesn't have to be about hoarding. One small thing. You had a cup of tea or coffee, you had milk, you had water, you had something, and you turn the water on and you wash the plate with or without soap, doesn't matter. You're probably the only one eating off the plates, probably. And you put it in the drying rack. You cleaned a plate. Please allow yourself to have the mindset Okay, it doesn't have to be for the whole day. You don't have to solve world peace. All right. You deserve to do one thing, one small thing every day to keep yourself moving, because a body in motion stays in motion. A body at rest stays at rest. Okay. And you deserve the affirmation that I want you to give yourself for doing that task, which I know if you are experiencing depression that difficult, that hard, I know that it's a struggle. I know. All right. One small thing that you pat yourself on the back for and say, you know what? Didn't solve the whole problem, but it's one less problem I have. And just build from there, please. We're all pulling for you. Okay, I'm going to finish these. There may be noise in the background, all right, because I'm having a furnace installed and they made a deal until 5 after 12. They would be quiet. So if noise comes in the background, we're just going to edit that part out, but I want to handle these questions. How did you deal with the peaks and valleys of hoarding, i.e. work on an area and get it done to 95% and then seem to lose my focus, all right, and let it get back cluttered again, though not as bad as prior. So peaks and valleys are more like steps as I'm getting stuff done, but dealing with the valleys is an issue. Recognizing and dealing with impending problems. The time change, yes, the time change affected all of us. I think they should stop that. I really do. It is very disruptive for up to a week. I was dragging myself, like, it was terrible. How do you handle the peaks and valleys? You accept them. Just, you accept them, because you know what? You're not perfect. You're never going to be perfect. And that's no reason for giving up. But you're living in the space. Isn't that the whole point of turning the space around and making it what you want and need it to be, so you can use it and enjoy it? If you can, all right, and I make this a practice myself. Is it easy? No, it isn't easy. I could talk myself out of it 6 ways from Sunday regularly, but I don't let myself, because I know this is the path to nowhere I want to go. And if I can't do this, I have no right to sit here and coach you. All right. Okay. Here's what I do. Whatever I create in the way of mess or used things today, I solve before I go to bed. Or I'm going to introduce you to a new concept that you really need to use this carefully. All right. If I can't do that, because life isn't perfect, yours isn't, mine isn't. All right. Sometimes you just run out of steam. You just don't want to do it. Okay. But you don't stay there. Every area in every part of the house where you live has a drop zone. That's your reality factor, right? And the drop zone, here are the criteria for choosing the drop zone. This is important. It is a standalone, discrete, measurable, definable space. An armchair, for instance. In the other house where I lived, it was a banister, a short banister outside my bedroom, where if I really just didn't want to hang up clothes, or I had laundry and I just don't want to put it away right now, I would hang it there. But then I make a date with it. And here's the thing about the drop zone. If it's an armchair, a chair, a basket, or whatever, nothing, not one thing can exceed the size and shape of the chair. When it's starting to hang off the arms or it's fallen on the floor, If you haven't got a date with it, you do now, because it is not an expandable drop zone. It is a time limited, I'm busy, I don't feel like it, drop zone in every room. But the things in that room, in that drop zone in that room, are only about what belongs in that room. I wouldn't, for instance, take clothes that I don't want to hang up. I don't want to put in the laundry right now. I wouldn't take those and put them in the drop zone, for instance, in the living room or in the kitchen or in the whatever. It's a space limited, defined, time limited drop zone. All right. And you have to be really good at making a date with yourself, a definite date. And I strongly suggest that that be around the timing of it, as opposed to the ability of the drop zones ability to contain more and more and more. Because if you don't feel like it now, you're not going to feel like it anymore later. All right. And then make yourself do it. I say to myself 20 times a day, Elaine, just do it now. It's never going to get easier. Okay. There is no just for now. Nope, nope, nope. All right. Because you don't know what tomorrow will bring. And I solve it when it's a smaller, manageable problem. Why? Because I make myself do it. If I give my word to you, I move heaven and earth to keep my word. When I give myself my word, I move heaven and earth to make myself do it. Because I don't deserve, I don't want the burden of, oh, it's bigger than me now. If it's bigger than you now, take a chip out of it today, tomorrow, reduce it by 5%, 2%. One thing accomplished is better than 10 started. Okay, pick something up, find its home space, and put it there. If you can't put it away because something else is in its place, put it as close to that space as is humanly possible without creating a safety hazard or a health hazard for yourself. Okay? Okay. Okay. My question has to do, this is Cindy, my question has to do with getting stuck when you have regrets. All right, regrets, where am I here now? And or sadness, almost a mourning. If I get stuck in my mind with that, there's almost no return. I'm in a failed marriage to a man with a high function, autism, okay. I just found out last year and it explained a lot. The hoarding started with the marital issues, so I pare it down. It is regret mourning over the damage to the kids and wasted money. We were in full-time mission work. Believe it or not, I am doing much better, but if I go down that road and ruminate on the regret, I can easily lose a week or two of sorting. By the way, I'm driving to an appointment soon and can't respond right now. Okay, so who do we have here? Cindy. We need to do a podcast on forgiveness. All right. I'm sure that as a full-time, operating a full-time mission, you've spoken to many people about forgiveness. All right. It's time to apply it to yourself. I don't mean to minimize at all, but anybody who has children, all right, knows that they have said something or done something or missed something, didn't recognize it. It's not that they did it deliberately, maybe it was the lesser of a bunch of evils that you could manage to look at that time, given the weight of life, the responsibilities you had, and I'm not making excuses. Every one of us have done something that our children can be on a therapist couch about, okay? Every one of us, myself included, I'm sure. And so we are not perfect. And I know that sounds trite. And of course, if you could turn it around and redo it, you would do it differently. But the reason you can't do that is because at the time, you didn't have the information that you have now to understand that there is something to regret. You've just put yourself in an untenable, vicious circle that there is no reasonable way out of. If you knew then what you know now, would you have lessened the things to regret? Of course. But you didn't. You didn't know it. Or even if you did know it, for some reason you didn't feel resourced to deal with it as you now wish. If you're involved with the church and it's a mission, a religious sort of thing, I would suggest you pray. I would suggest that you use the power of prayer for yourself. I would suggest that maybe when you see an opportunity, you sit down and you talk to the kids about it. All right, not blaming anybody, but asking them for their forgiveness. Or if they can't forgive you for something, at least could they understand? And making a promise and an undertaking that now, with the knowledge you have right now, you're making a commitment to doing better. All right. A high functioning autistic adult has special challenges. All right. Special challenges. And it would be usually a very sad, empty, perhaps, personal relationship. All right. Emotionally alone, emotionally inadequately supported. That was a burden you carried. Right? And you need to get off your own back about that. We all would do better if after a lot of work and finding answers, we could go back and redo it. That's not life. The most important thing is to forgive yourself only if you are prepared to do better, to try harder, and to make amends for whatever you feel you have to regret with respect to people who you may have harmed, or you may have injured, or you may not have been able to give them what they needed and deserved. We're all just doing the best we can, and that's not an excuse for doing nothing and taking advantage of people. All right? That's not an excuse. I hope that helps. Okay, where are we? Carrie, I know a lot of my depression is situational, but also chemical. I'm desperately sad today. Spent my birthday alone yesterday. I'm so sorry. Happy birthday, Carrie. We all say happy birthday, Carrie. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. It's a little late. Happy
birthday, dear Carrie.
Happy birthday to you. Now that we know about it, and we're sorry it's late. I wish the podcast had been yesterday. I'm sorry you were alone. I'm sorry. However, you're not alone today. All right? You're not alone today. And the fact that you were alone yesterday on your birthday doesn't mean one darn thing about what a great person you are and how hard you're trying. Doesn't mean one darn thing. All right? Somebody fouled up. All right, because you certainly are you're worthy. You're worthy of love. Somebody fouled up. All right, that's on them. Don't carry it. Don't carry it. You figure out what you can do to make yourself feel better, and then you give yourself permission to do it. Or you could give them penance. I believe in penance. Hi, you really found out yesterday, because yesterday was my birthday, and this is what I'd like you to do. All right. Anyway, I understand you're not feeling well. I understand you're down. And you know what? Wouldn't be the happiest feeling. We all acknowledge that. But today's a new day. And you're as great today as you were yesterday. Somebody fouled up. That's on them. All right. That's another thing, people. When people disappoint you or you don't get your legitimate needs met, that's on them. But can also be on you if you don't speak up, if you don't teach people how to treat you by having reasonable expectations and articulating them, not expecting them to be mind readers. And I'm not saying Carrie is. Okay, that's our job. We do teach people how to treat us. I know a lot of depression. Okay, so that's a hoarding is like my cocaine to numb the pain for sure. Here's the thing though, Cindy. It's the wrong thing to numb the pain. That is like taking Tylenol when you have a migraine. Okay, it doesn't cut it. You can take all the Tylenol in the world, you just make yourself sick. If you've got a legitimate migraine, you're using the wrong thing. That's why it takes so much. That never-ending search. Ask yourself legitimately, truthfully, what do you need? Where is it? And how do you get enough of it to make enough of a difference? Okay? You're the only one who knows what you need. Don't settle for substitutes. That bright and shiny thing, that thing to look forward to, the next package that comes from Amazon, whatever it is, if that isn't exactly what you need, don't settle for it. There won't be enough. You're using the wrong thing and it will hurt you. Whatever you need is out there in some form. Your job is to find it. First of all, to know what you need. I'm not talking to solve every problem in your life. I'm talking about right now, what is the immediate need? Where is the best source? And how do you get enough of it to make enough of a difference? And be satisfied with a partial solution. Silver, okay. All right, Alina, the website. Okay, so Alina, I think you're in Miami, aren't you? You're in Florida. It is restricted to Canada. So, because it's Hoarders Canada. About the ping ponging. I tell myself, okay, today is obviously a ping pong day. No. No day is a ping pong day. It might be the choice you make on this day, but there's no day that in itself is a ping pong day. No, ping ponging is a choice we make when we don't put in place a safety guard for ourselves, like externalizing. What's the date? What am I doing? What are the jobs I need to do? When this one's done, I move on to that one. No. Bring yourself back, and the best way to do that is to externalize it. Now, I would say right on your hand, but you'd heavy up your arm and down the other with sometimes the jobs we have to do. Okay. I won't be able to tackle something major. Certainly you won't be able to tackle something major. You'll know that one minor thing is better than nothing, and it's better than 10 major things started. But what I can at least commit to is ping-ponging 10 minutes in each room. No. Start in the area you most need and work at it until it's done. Finish what you start, okay? Finish what you start. Now, a way to add that pong part of it is, and at the same time, commit to not adding more just for nows, so that it's the never ending story. So if you backfill today, solving today's issues, okay, the dishes, wiping up that mess you made in the kitchen, whatever it is, putting away the groceries, whatever it is, you finish that, you are moving forward. It's not a matter of this, where it continues and expands, but finish what you start, Ottawa girl. Okay. Okay. And I tell myself to be proud of what, yes, which sometimes gives me a push. Yes, be proud. Be proud of anything you do. I was writing a report yesterday, and I don't know why it was so difficult. I tell you, I was dragging myself through it. And today, my deadline is this afternoon after this podcast. It has to be done before I close that office door. No, well, my expression is come hell or high water. Okay, it has to. Okay. So accept reality. Yes, girl. CI says, happy birthday, my friend. I too spent Christmas and my birthday completely alone without any contact. But I'm trying hard to change my life to make room for better in all areas. It won't happen overnight, but I didn't get here. That's right. You did not get here overnight, but please do finish what you start. All right. Okay. Still having trouble getting rid of my school stuff. Retired. I know. Boy, if I had a nickel for every teacher who's told me that. You know, one of the things that some of my clients do, and it works for them. And that is, if you have a smartphone, or you have a smartphone's a good way, take a picture. Take a picture of it. All right, not every single page, hopefully. Email it to yourself and put it on an external hard drive. Or if it's just some of the things, like the title page or whatever, the credit, you produce something. Or if you really think that it would be useful, you could call a local school and ask if they can use resources. Budgets in schools are terrible. If you've got a resource, we did that with somebody who was a retired artist, and she taught art as well. We called Sheridan College and we took all those supplies over there, and even the canvases that she had worked on. All right, when she retired and wanted to be somewhere else and didn't have the room to bring it with her. Okay. Yes, Carrie, I feel proud of myself when I can get rid of things. All right. Can I ask you, though, all of you, when you're making these decisions, don't make it about what you're getting rid of. All right. Make it about finding the most important things to you, the 1, 2, 3s, the jewels. Find those, decide on a home, and what has to go is the consequence of you keeping the very best. Please change your focus. All right. And be proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that I am creating this environment. When I come into it, has things I love, things that excite me, things to look forward to. and it doesn't have chaos in my life. I won't judge myself. Okay, let me see. So Silver, recognizing where the problem started is a good first step, but it isn't enough, because wherever it started, it's happening right now. All right. So right now, given your life today as it is, accept that. All right. You can make it more, but right now, that's not what it is. What are the 1, 2, 3s? What are the criteria for the most precious things that will serve your life today? And if you've got a lot of clothing left over, all right, and it's about past memories, do take pictures of them. It works for other people. You can put that as, what do they call it? It's not a windscreen, it's a something, it's a wallpaper or something on your computer or on your, all right, you can do a slideshow. Get somebody, I know that Zoe would be able to make a slideshow for you of all the things. And it's like, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, I remember that. But if it's not serving your life today, don't make room for it today. Because if you take up all the room with what you absolutely do need today and way too much of yesterday that isn't useful today, doesn't give you enough back, you don't have room for tomorrow. Your tomorrow is all about cleaning up. Well, that is no life to look forward to. If anything would depress somebody. If all you had to look forward to is more and more and more and more and more work, it would be like the never-ending story. Who in their right mind would get up and want to do that? You've got to make room for tomorrow. All right, you've got to make room for tomorrow. And that comes of letting go of yesterday, because it doesn't serve your life today. It isn't you today moving forward to tomorrow. And if it isn't, you need to have a long, hard look at it and accept the truth. I love it. You know what? I don't love it that much. It's not a 1, 2, 3. Okay. Yeah. Wendy, you're right. The show is a good opportunity. That's true. Although you should have concerns about meeting hard timelines. How does one manage mentally in 1 week? You don't. You don't. You don't manage in 1 week. And make sure that when this great opportunity, and it could be a good opportunity, but I want you to interview them to make sure you're not going to come out of this damaged. You're not going to come out of this traumatized and feeling exposed. All right. You interview them too. There has to be a fit. It isn't, the good cannot be allowed to be just one-sided. Okay, let me have a look. 5 cheeseburgers. Why do I have, oh, well then, yes, and then you think, wait a minute, I have 5 cheese graters. Why do I have 57? True story. Why do I have 5? True story. Well, you tell me. Are they different types? Are you, is cheese a major factor in your dietary plan? It could be. You tell me, you tell yourself, why 5? All right, why 5? Which one is the best? Maybe you want 1 in a backup. Maybe they're different types of cheese graters. If they're not, do you want to devote that much real estate, valuable real estate? Nobody has enough cupboards or drawers in a kitchen. Nobody. All right. Do you want to devote that much to 5 cheese graters? And if you do, there's nothing wrong with that. That's your choice. But what it does mean, it has a domino effect. What it does mean is that 4 other things can't have space. Or if they do, pretty soon it's going to be chaotic because it's not going to be predictable and accessible. It's going to be all mixed up. Okay, there's 5 cheese graters, no problem. But there is a cost. Do you want to pay that cost? And what does it mean for the order and simplicity and resolution of why you're here today? Are you prepared to pay the price for happiness? And that is to deal with reality. Okay. I have 71 new messages. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to save the 71 new messages because we're now at 12:30 and the people installing my furnace would like to get back to work. I will see you next week and we will start off with triaging those 72. So come back. All right. And I will be handling the other 73 new messages. Take care, everybody. Have a great week. I'll see you next Wednesday.
Can you do it? Yes, you can. Yes, you can.